Hey everyone, this is my submission for Code Basics Resume project challenge number 12, and this project is related to the automotive industry and more specifically the EV industry. So looking into the problem statement, so Adlic Motors is an automotive giant from US specializing in EVs. Recently their market share has risen to over 25% in North America, and now they are looking to expand in India where their market share is less than 2%. For this purpose, they require a detailed study over the EV landscape in India before proceeding further. So here are the tasks that we are required to perform for this challenge. First being the dynamic dashboard. I was required to prepare a self-explanatory dashboard that will help the decision makers at Atlic Motors to get an overview of the EV landscape in India and also help them with some quick data-driven decision making. Then there's the primary insights where we are required to answer some ad hoc queries, followed by secondary insights where we were required to perform our own research to answer some of the questions. Now, getting into the dashboard, I have provided four main views for this dashboard. First being the home view, which is the landing page itself, followed by the general view, where we'll be having a brief overview of the EV landscape in India. Then there is a state view where we can look at the state-wise data. And finally, there is the competitors view where we'll be having a look at our competitors. So firstly, checking the general view, clicking on the general view. So there we are. I've kept the design to be extremely simple so that to avoid any distractions and to just focus on the main thing. At the top, I'm having four main KPIs: the EV sales, which gives me the total number of EV units sold over the past 3 years, followed by penetration rate, which again takes in account the past 3 years of sales data. Then there's the year-on-year growth percent and the compounded annual growth rate. Then I am having a bar chart that gives me top 10 states by EV sales. We can see that Maharashtra accounts for most EVs sold over the past 3 years with 0.40 million units, followed by Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and so on. Now let's say I want to have a look at the top 10 states by penetration rate. So I can click on this button that I have provided at the top of this chart, which says view by penetration rate. Clicking on this toggle button, see, now it gives me the top 10 states by penetration rate. But I guess there is some issue with this chart because this is not giving me the top 10 states by penetration rate. Rather, it is showing me the penetration rate of all the top 10 states with respect to EV sales. I'll be fixing that issue, but I just wanted to share that I have provided this feature where one can toggle between the top 10 states with respect to penetration rate as well as the EV sold. On the left hand side, I have provided the navigation pane followed by some filters for vehicle category, maker, state, year, and so on. Let's say I want to have a look at Andhra Pradesh. Clicking on Andhra Pradesh, see we have the data for Andhra Pradesh. Also, I want to have a look at 2023 data of Andhra Pradesh. So I can select 2023 from the year slicer. Now it gives me the 2023 sales data for Andhra Pradesh. So Andhra Pradesh accounted for 30.06k units of EVs sold during year 2023. Penetration rate during this time period in Andhra Pradesh was 3.95%. Year on year growth percent was 7.16%. Down there I'm having a sales trend of EVs sold in Andhra Pradesh in year 2023. And then there's the top 5 makers by sales. Makers refers to the manufacturers. We are having Ola Electric, TVS, Ather, Bajaj, and some others. Now let's say I want to remove all these filters. So I can directly click on this clear all filters button that I have provided at the top of this dashboard. Clicking on the clear all filters and see all the filters are cleared. Now having a look of the state view. Clicking on the state view. So there it is. I have a table chart here that gives me the states alongside the EVs sold in that state and penetration rate. So I can see that Goa has a penetration rate of 9.84%, which is the highest among all the states. Now let's say I want to just have a look at the two-wheelers. So I can click on this two-wheeler toggle button that I have provided at the top of this chart. Clicking on this button, see, I've got the data for the two-wheelers, and penetration rate for two-wheelers is highest among Goa again with 12.57%. Same thing can be done for four-wheelers as well. Clicking on four-wheelers and see I have the data for the four-wheelers. Here I have the line chart that shows me the sales trend from April 2021 to 2024, and I have also provided some filters at the top of this chart. Let's say I want to have a look at Bihar. How were the sales in Bihar? Clicking on Bihar and see it is giving me the sales in Bihar. Also, I want to just have a look at 2022 data. So I can click here on 2022. So there it is. I am getting the sales trend in 2022 in Bihar. So we can see that March saw a rise in sales with 1.3k, followed by a decline in sales in April 2022 with 0.5k sales. Now moving on to the competitors view, clicking on the competitors. So here it is. I am having a bar graph, horizontal bar graph rather, that gives me the total EV sales by different makers or manufacturers. So we can see that Ola Electric accounts for most of the sales with 0.49 million, followed by TVS, Ather and so on. Again, I want to have a look just at the four-wheeler. So I can directly click on this toggle button that says four-wheeler. See, it gives me the four-wheeler sales for different manufacturers, and Tata Motors has the highest units of EVs sold with 89k, followed by Mahindra and Mahindra, MG Motor and BYD India. Then there's the sales trend. Let's say I want to have a look at the sales trend of Mahindra and Mahindra. So I can click here on Mahindra and Mahindra. Also, I just want to look at the 2021 data. So I will click here on 2021 and this will give me the 2021 sales trend of Mahindra and Mahindra. So we can say that the sales were continuously on a rise for Mahindra and Mahindra during 2021. Now looking at the 2022 and 2023. So there it is. With this we have reached the end of this dashboard. Now looking at the second phase of this project, which is the primary insights. Now getting into the second phase of this project, which is the primary insights. The first question asks us to list down the top 3 and bottom 3 makers for fiscal year 2022 and 2023 in terms of the number of two-wheelers sold. So for fiscal year 2022, the top 3 are Ola Electric, Okinawa and Hero Electric, and bottom 3 are Pure EV, Bing and Jitendra. For fiscal year 2023, top 3 are again Ola Electric, followed by TVS and Ather, and bottom 3 are Kinetic Green, Revolt and Battery Electric. Moving on to the next query, they ask us to identify the top 5 states the highest penetration rate in two-wheeler and four-wheeler EV sales in year 2024. Now, in the original question, we were asked about the fiscal year 2024 instead of year 2024. But the dataset that is given to us, that doesn't include data for fiscal year 2024. It has data only up till fiscal year 2023. So I assume that the question is trying to ask us about the year 2024 instead of fiscal year 2024. For year 2024, we are given just 3 months, January, February and March. So this result is based upon the first 3 months of 2024. The states with the highest penetration rate in two-wheeler EVs in 2024 are Ladakh with close to 27% penetration rate, followed by Goa, Kerala, Karnataka and Maharashtra. And states with the highest penetration rate in four-wheeler EVs in 2024 are Kerala, Chandigarh, Goa, Delhi and Karnataka. Moving on to the next query, they ask us to list the states with negative penetration in EV sales from 2022 to 2024. According to my analysis, there are no such states which have seen a decline in penetration rate. They're trying to ask us whether there are any states which have seen a decline in penetration rate in 2024 in comparison to 2022. So according to my analysis, there are no such states. But yes, if they are trying to ask us the minimum change in penetration rate from 2022 to 2024, then the result is Sikkim, which has a zero change, because penetration rate in 2022 in Sikkim was zero, and penetration rate in 2024 in Sikkim is also zero. So there is a zero change in penetration rate in Sikkim. Then Sikkim is followed by Himachal, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, and Tripura. Now moving on to the fourth query, they ask us what are the quarterly trends based on the sales volume for top 5 EV makers in four-wheelers category from 2022 to 2024. Firstly, we are required to identify the top 5 EV makers in the four-wheelers category. So the top 5 makers are Tata Motors, Mahindra and Mahindra, MG Motor, BYD India and Hyundai Motor. And for these top 5 manufacturers, the quarterly trends from 2022 to 2024 are as follows. I have provided the chart here, and one can easily see that the sales are continuously on the rise from 2022 to 2024 for the top 5 manufacturers. Now moving on to the next query, they ask us to compare the EV sales and penetration rate in Delhi and Karnataka for 2024. So EV sales in 2024 in Karnataka are 51k, which is almost 4 times that of Delhi, which is just at 13k. And penetration rate in 2024 in Karnataka is 11.9%, followed by Delhi at 8.5%. The sixth question asks us to list down the compounded annual growth rate in four-wheeler units for the top 5 makers from 2022 to 2024. Now this question can be interpreted in two ways. Firstly, they are trying to ask us the top 5 makers with the highest compounded annual growth rate. And second way to interpret this question is, we are required to first find out the top 5 makers in EVs in terms of EVs sold, and then find their compounded annual growth rate. So I have realized both the possibilities here. The first chart shows us the top 5 makers with the highest compounded annual growth rate, and we can see that Volvo Auto India has the highest CAGR with 115.41%, followed by BMW India, Mercedes Benz, AYD India and MG Motor. Now if we interpret this question in the second way, that is, first we identify the top 5 EV makers in the four-wheelers category, and then we find out their compounded annual growth rate. So here is that result. BYD India and MG Motor are the only two top 5 makers which have a positive CAGR. The rest three, that is the Hyundai Motor, Tata Motors and Mahindra, are having a negative CAGR. Moving on to the next question, they ask us to identify the peak and low season months for EV sales based on the data from 2022 to 2024. I have this line chart here which gives us the sales trend, and we can see spikes during twice a year. Firstly during March, and secondly around October November. So we can conclude that EV industry sees a spike in sales during the end of fiscal year, because during March there is an end of fiscal year, and secondly the EV industry sees a jump in sales during October November, which can be attributed to the festive season, because during October November people celebrate Dashera, Diwali. In Gujarat there is Navratri, in South there's Batukamma, so it can be attributed to the festive season. But there is no such low season which can be identified. But yes, during May 2023 there was a jump in sales with record sales of 113k, and then in June there was a sudden decline of 54k. Let me explain you what happened actually. Because during May 2023 there was the FAME subsidy, which gave a 40% of subsidy on the EV price. So people, there, there was a buyer rush at that time, you can say. So it recorded a record sales of 113k. But during June 2023, the 40% subsidy was reduced to 15%. So that might be one of the reasons why there is such a steep decline in sales during June. Now moving on to the ninth query, they ask us to project the number of units sold in top 10 states with respect to penetration rate in 2030. So here is the query result, and according to my prediction, Gujarat will see the highest units sold in 2030 with 300 million units. Gujarat will be followed by Kerala and Maharashtra. Together they will account for close to 500 million units. Now moving on to the 10th and the last question for primary insights. They ask us to estimate the revenue growth rate of four-wheeler and two-wheeler EVs in India for 2022 versus 2024 and 2023 versus 2024, assuming an average unit price. And the price for two-wheelers is to be taken as 85,000 and for four-wheelers it is taken to be 15 lakhs. Now there is a catch in this question. The catch is that for 2024 we are given the data for just first 3 months. So for 2022 and 2023 as well, we will be considering the data of the first 3 months only. They are basically asking us to compare the revenue growth rate for two different periods. First being the 2022 to 2024 and another one being the 2023 to 2024. So for 2022 to 2024, the revenue growth rate for two wheelers is 143.6%, and from 2023 to 2024 it is 34.95%. So we notice that from 2022 to 2024 there is a phenomenal growth of 144%, but from 2023 to 2024 there is still some growth, but the growth is not as phenomenal as the earlier one. So we can conclude that from 2022 to 2024 the growth was phenomenal, it was 144%, but in 2023 the market, I think it saturated or it matured. That is why the revenue growth was still there, but it was not as phenomenal as the other one. Now looking at the four wheelers data, here also the same trend can be seen. From 2022 to 2024 the revenue growth is 208.25%, but from 2023 to 2024 it is just close to 40%. Now there can be several factors. The two main factors that I can think of it as cyclic nature and the other being the market maturation. Now moving into the secondary insights phase, they ask us what are the primary reasons for customers choosing four-wheeler EVs in 2023 and 2024. The first and the foremost reason is government incentives. Everyone knows about the FAME 2 scheme. Then there's exemption from road tax. In most of the states, the road tax for four-wheelers is completely exempted. In Kerala and Gujarat, there is a 50% exemption from road tax, and in Uttar Pradesh, there is a 30% exemption from road tax. Then there is exemption from registration fee all over the country. The second reason is cost saving. Electric vehicles surely have a lower fuel cost in comparison to the diesel and petrol vehicles. Then there is a reduced maintenance cost as well associated with the EVs. Moving on to the next question, they ask us how do government incentives and subsidies impact the adoption rates of two wheelers and four wheelers. Firstly, there is a reduced purchase cost. Whenever there is a government incentive associated with a product, the cost definitely reduces. So that makes it more affordable for general public. Secondly, there is an increased demand. Whenever there is an incentive such as a cash rebate or subsidy associated with the product, it definitely appeals more to the public. So there is also an increased demand whenever there is a government incentive associated. Now, the states that offer most incentives are Gujarat, Maharashtra, Meghalaya, Telangana, and Kerala. Now, moving on to the third question, they ask us how does the availability of charging station infrastructure correlate with the EV sales and penetration rate in top 5 states? Firstly, the states with the most charging stations include Karnataka with 5,130 stations, followed by Maharashtra with 3,000 stations, followed by Delhi, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. By the way, the source of this information is Vasudha Foundation. Then I found the EV charging station density. To find the charging station density, what I did is, firstly, I found the number of charging stations present in that particular state and then divided it by the area of that state. So that gave me 0.8 for Delhi, followed by Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, and Maharashtra. These are the states that have the highest EV charging station density. Now, if we have a look at the states with highest penetration rate, all these states which are present in the top 5 in highest EV charging station density find their names in that list. Like Goa, Karnataka, Delhi, Kerala, Maharashtra, all these states have high EV charging station density. Sorry, they states have a low EV charging station density. That means they have a high number of EV charging stations in their area. Also, if we look at the states with the most EVs sold, Maharashtra and Karnataka again find their names there. So we can say that the EV charging station density or the presence of EV charging stations in the state directly impacts the penetration rate in that state. In the fourth question, they ask us who should be the brand ambassador of Atlic Motors if they launch their vehicles in India. To appoint a person as a brand ambassador, we should first look at five factors. First, the brand alignment. Whoever is being appointed as a brand ambassador should have a public image that aligns with our values. Secondly, the target audience. Being a new technology, I think the youth and the mid-age professionals are our target audience. So, whoever is appointed as a brand ambassador should have a strong appeal among the youth and the mid-age professionals. Then he should have a strong influence and reach, long-term potential, and risk management. So taking all these factors into consideration, the first name that comes to my mind is Virat Kohli's. Virat Kohli's public image of leading a disciplined lifestyle, focusing on fitness and commitment to excellence aligns very well with our company's policies. Then, being a cricketing icon, Virat Kohli is widely respected and recognized among all the age groups in India. And thirdly, the influence and reach. Virat Kohli is one of the most followed social media personalities not only in India but across the globe. The second name that comes to my mind is Shah Rukh Khan's. Shah Rukh Khan is synonymous with success, modernity, and sophistication. So these traits align very well with the EV industry. Being a Bollywood personality, he is widely recognized among all the age groups. And just like Virat Kohli, Shah Rukh Khan is also one of the most followed social media personalities across the globe. So these two shall be the front runners for being the brand ambassador of Atlic Motors. Now they ask us which state of India is ideal to start the manufacturing unit. Maharashtra. Reasons being government policies. Policies such as electric vehicle policy and Maharashtra Industrial Policy 2019, they focus on promoting manufacturing units in the state. Then, well developed infrastructure is another reason, no doubt that Maharashtra has one of the best developed infrastructures in whole of India. Then, talking about ease of doing business, as per Asian Competitiveness Institute of Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy of Singapore Index on Ease of Doing Business in 2016, Maharashtra ranks first in the country. So there's no doubt that Maharashtra should be our preference when we talk about setting up manufacturing units. So with this, we have reached the end of our presentation. Thank you.